Hey, what's up, guys? I want to give you a quick and important tip that's very useful to increase the percentage of your approaches and approaching women, to increase the chances of them going better, okay? So increase your chances of having success when you approach women, okay? And it's a very simple tip. And I actually got this tip from another instructor who was observing me. He was observing me when I approach women. And one thing that he had noticed about my approaches that helped me get better reactions, okay? And I'm gonna share that with you in a second here. Now, this really comes from a guy named Jordan Belfort, okay? And Jordan Belfort is the Wolf of Wall Street. You may have seen that movie. And what he was is an incredible salesman, especially phone sales, okay? And being that he talked to people on the phone, there was only a few things he can control. He can control the words that he said, right? And he could control his tonality, okay? And his enthusiasm. How the words that he said affected people, okay? Now, you've definitely seen people, maybe even some of them here on YouTube, right, who film videos, and, you know, I was out the other day and I was talking to a girl and I approached her, and what I said to her was just very monotone and a neutral type of tonality. And the thing is, you're leaving one of your biggest tools on the table. You're not bringing it to work, right? And one of those tools is to use your enthusiasm and your tonality, right? And Jordan Belfort knew that with his sales, okay? And one thing he talked about, okay, when he makes a sales call, what he said was the first thing he says, there's three different types of tonalities, okay? There's an upward inflection, a neutral, and a downward inflection, okay? And I'm gonna talk about each of those. So the neutral inflection would be like you call somebody, say, "Hi, how are you? This is Joe." Sound like a robot, right? The other one, downward, would be like, "Hey, this is Joe. Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, I was just calling." You can see that one's, "Yeah, I was just calling." And what I noticed was, you can see that one's a little lower energy. There's a time for that, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. The neutral one is kind of normal, but there's another one called upward inflection. We're like, "Hi, this is Joe. How are you?" So what Jordan Belfort pointed out, that was when you first start talking to somebody, okay, when you first make a cold call, and this is just like when you make a cold approach, when you first make a cold contact, you want to use an upward inflection with your tonality, okay? So if I'm going to talk to girls, I can do it in three ways. I can walk up to them, I could say, "Hi, I'm Joe." Maybe work, maybe sounds like a robot. I can be like, "Hey, I'm Joe. How you guys doing?" And use the downward, kind of low. Or the one that I want you guys to use is the upward inflection on your tonality. So when I approach them, I go, "Hi, I'm Joe. What are you guys up to?" Right? And it's a higher energy, it's a lighter, and it goes up at the end, okay? I'll be like, "Hello, how are you?" And I notice that I use this a lot when I do my approaches. And the thing with the upward inflection is, Jordan Belfort was saying that it assumes rapport, okay? So he would call somebody, be like, "Hey, is John there? Hey, this is Jordan from let's say from Good Parts Auto down in Tampa, Florida." And he keeps using the upward inflection. And the upward inflection, he said, will get people to say, "Wait, I remember this guy. Wait, I've talked to this guy before," right? It starts to get them to think, "Wait, Jordan from Tampa, Florida, right? Does it ring a bell?" Right? And you start to think like, "Man, maybe I already know this person." And it kind of assumes rapport with people. It was a little trick that he liked to do. And then he would actually go on and tell more. And he goes, "Well, the reason I'm calling," and he would actually downward tonality to get people more intrigued. And that's a whole nother thing too. But the tip that I want to give you here in this video is to make sure that you use an upward inflection when you do your approaches. You'll get much better reactions, and it'll seem like there's already a familiarity, like they may already know you, right? There's times I approach women and they're like, "Hi, have I met you before? Do I know you?" You want to pretty much act like it's a friend. "Hey, it's Joe. How have you been?" And use that kind of upward tonality on your interactions. Man, it makes a huge difference. I can't tell you how many times I'll see guys they approach very monotone, or they drop their tone down and they use a very low energy and they don't get a good reaction. So just come in and be like, "Hey, what's going on? I'm Joe. How are you?" Just having that upward inflection will make your approaches go so much better. It's not always the words that you say, okay? The words that you say, they say is only 7% of your communication. Your tonality, they say, is 38% of your communication. For Jordan, it was probably 90% if he's calling people on the phone, right? But you want to control your tonality and be very keen on it. If you want to know how you're doing this, put your iPhone in either your shirt pocket, which would be best, or your pants pocket. But if you put it in your shirt pocket and throw your tape recorder on and listen while you're doing approaches, right? I actually had some audio that I used to listen to a lot when I was coming up to kind of analyze my interactions. And then once I got better, I would teach guys by playing the audio for the guys. And I noticed that I would use that upward inflection a lot on my approaches. So quick tip that will help you out a ton, and make sure to try that out in your approaches and analyze and make sure that you're doing it to get much better reactions when you approach women.